you were at the fish fry last night towards the end, or if you've just seen me around this week, you'll know I got a new car. I really like my new car. And last Sunday, I took out Zach Oschenbauer, the seminarian, for a little spin in it, and he said, well, Shamrock Shakes, McDonald's still has them. Why don't we go to McDonald's? I'm like, okay, fine, go to McDonald's. We went to McDonald's, and I said, why don't we go back to the rectory before we eat anything? Let's not eat it in the car. So then we went back to the rectory, and we had our McDonald's, but I didn't want to eat anything in my brand new car, and I got a little spray bottle that's like a waterless wash, because we can't turn the hoses on at the rectory yet because it's still cold out, so I'm spraying it and getting rid of all the salt on it, and got to keep it nice and perfectly clean because it's my new car. Got to keep it nice, Now, I took care of my old car pretty well. You can still see it sitting out there, the blue Grand Marquis. I'm going to be selling it in a few days, but it's still in pretty decent shape. But, I'd eat food in there. If you look real close at some of the seats, you might see a little bit of Chick-fil-A sauce that's gotten, just kind of ground into the seats a little bit over the years. I didn't take, I took good care of it. Do the maintenance, but I wasn't quite as intense about taking care of it as I am right now with the new one. Because let's be honest, the new one's worth a little bit more money right now. A car gets older, you don't quite take care of it quite as much. Its value goes down, and you start to make the compromises and say, okay, fine, we can have our McDonald's in the car or whatever, right? What does that have to do with the spiritual life? I wonder. So, I often compare the sacrament of confession to an oil change, to getting maintenance on a car. The thing is, I'll probably be following the scheduled maintenance for this new car for quite a while, at the, 5,000, 10,000 miles, getting all the fluids checked, go down to the Ford dealer, and they're going to, make sure that everything's in tip-top shape, where the old car, it's like, I'll change the oil eventually, There's still oil in there, it's not smoking too bad, I'll change it, right, eventually, we'll get around to it. Didn't care quite as much because the value went down. But when you got a car, you still want to make sure you're following that maintenance pretty roughly, right? You want to make sure you're getting your oil changed. You want to make sure you're taking care of it, because if you don't, you're going to start to have bigger problems, right? Here's the thing. It's just like that with our soul, too. We have the sacrament of confession that we can use to, bring our soul to this spiritual car wash, this spiritual maintenance on our soul through the sacrament of confession. And sometimes we can think to ourselves, well, I haven't murdered anyone recently. I don't need to go to confession, right? I haven't chopped off anyone's arms or killed someone, so I'm probably fine, right? But we can start to have those little things build up, little bits of gunk over time, start to clog up the spiritual oil filter. I don't know what part of the soul that is, but follow the analogy. We can start to get little venial sins that clog up our soul, make it harder for us to resist bigger sins. We commit a little bit bigger sins, and before long, our spiritual engine just turned off and it won't start again, right? And then all of a sudden, we really need to go to that repair shop, and it's going to cost a lot more than if we would have just maintained it for the whole time. And so that's just like the sacrament of confession, too. We delay going to confession, sins can build up and cause us to be weighed down. We start to have little compromises where we commit bigger sins, maybe a little bit bigger sins. Before long, it gets really easy to say no to God, to say, well, maybe Mass this Sunday, it's fine just to miss one Sunday. It's another Sunday. And you start to fall into even bigger and bigger things, right? Because we begin to compromise. We don't treat our soul for the value that it's worth. See, the thing is with a car, cars lose value. No one's paying me sticker price for that Grand Marquis. 20 years or 15 years ago, it would have been worth $20,000. No one's paying me $20,000 for that. Cars lose value. Your soul has the same value throughout your entire life. It's never losing value. So there's never an excuse to start eating McDonald's in your soul, to start slipping up on that regular maintenance, to say, for a time, let's back off on that, right? We want to stay up on that maintenance. When there's a big thing, we go to confession right away. We get it taken care of before it becomes a bigger issue. Then we want to go in regularly, once a month, every other month, every couple months, just to make sure things are staying fresh, make sure things are running smoothly, make sure our spiritual life is in tip-top shape, so that our soul doesn't break down, so that we don't start to compromise, so that we don't start to fall into greater sin. And then all of a sudden, we're praying that psalm that we heard today. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. None of us want to be in those depths. None of us want to fall that far. So to maintain that level of maintenance on our soul, that regular attendance of confession, going right away when we know that there's something big that we should probably bring, and experiencing that great freedom. There's nothing quite as good as hearing those words, I absolve you, and having that weight lifted off your shoulders. As we approach Easter, as we're getting closer, 2 weeks left, we have plenty of opportunities for confession here at St. Peter's. If you don't quite want to go to me or Father Bodine or Father Gregory, we'll have extra priests in for a number of those opportunities. Come to the sacrament of confession. Clean out whatever's in there. Get your soul nice and sparkly for Easter. You wouldn't want to roll into Easter Sunday Mass with a rusted out car where you can see the road underneath and, we want to make sure that our soul is in tip-top shape too. So, just like we do that regular maintenance on our car so that nothing big shows up, and if, blue smoke starts to come out the back, we're going to want to go to that shop right away. Stay in that regular practice of the sacrament of confession. Bring everything to the Lord. Receive that forgiveness. Something big comes up, we have confession every day of the week here at St. Peter's, except Sundays, except the youth group gets it on Sundays, but not everyone's welcome to that. But every other day, we have confession, right? We have it available. Seek it out. Receive that great cleansing of your soul, so that as we come to Easter, we can receive our Lord with this great worthiness and have our soul, which was dead, be brought to life again, just like Lazarus, so that we can have that true union with our Lord, so that we can experience him and have life and have it abundantly.